Hi, everybody, and welcome to this, our last of our web series presentations. And today we're going to be talking a little bit more and going deeper into how can we work with our community partners to make sure that our outcomes for experiential learning are as intentional as we can be. And one of the things that we are doing, and I should have made a screen for this, but next Friday, the 17th, we are having a total internship management workshop. This is a SHRM and HRCI accredited workshop that we here at InternBridge have been doing all over the country since 2011, helping employers build a better mousetrap and build a better internship or cooperative education program or student teaching, whatever, but helping employers really focus on what they can do. And we have just an amazing experience here because we can deliver it to employers in the Montgomery, in Alabama for free. That's right, for free. So they can come for free and they're going to get a recording and they're going to get a couple hundred, if not $1,000 worth of follow-up information that they can utilize to really help them build their internship initiatives or experiential learning within their organization. I believe we already have about 25 employers signed up for that event next Friday. We're going to be making a big push, but if you know employers that might benefit from that, please let them know. And the web address is pretty simple. It's internbridge.com/AUM. We tried to make it pretty simple. Anyway, and we'll be emailing that out again, probably either later today or tomorrow. But you are welcome to come as well, because the more that we are all, for lack of a better term, singing from the same sheet of music, the better experience the student is going to have. Whether it's an internship with the city of Montgomery or it's with a for-profit software engineering company, the more that we in education and our internship hosts, be it in the for-profit or in the public sector, the more that we are working together to benefit our students, the better experience they're going to have, the more effectively that we're going to be able to transition students from college to the next chapter of their lives. They're going to be retained in higher ed, their grade point average is going to go up. I mean, all of the benefits that we talk about. And that's why employers are so key to this experience. All right, so I guess that's enough of the PSA. And again, that's me, President, CEO of InternBridge. Looking forward to continuing to work with Auburn University at Montgomery as we continue to develop and build out the ranch, or the EEC, the Experiential Education and Engagement Center. This is incredibly unique. Excuse me. I'm super proud of the university for making this commitment. It is absolutely amazing. And I think about 10, 15, 20 years from now, the number of students that are going to be impacted by having these types of experiences while they're an undergraduate, and what that is going to mean for their future and their children's future and their children's future. I mean, we're talking about significant generational change and also a tremendously aggressive and assertive philosophical change of how we are going to be educating our students and the experience that they are going to have as students at Auburn University of Montgomery. And I don't know, that's kind of exciting. I think it is, and I hope you do too. So, all right, let's get started. I think it's important that we get started where we kind of left off a couple of weeks ago. And that is really understanding that there is a tremendous gap in what employers think about students coming out of higher education. If you have been at a couple of our webcasts already, we've talked about this, where presidents and provosts overwhelmingly believe that students are employment ready upon graduation. But just about a third, or maybe even a little less, of HR directors and business leaders feel the same way. Part of that is a unshared definition of the word employment ready. Okay, so we know that, but there's still a significant gap. And we know that internships and other forms of experiential education can minimize this gap. And what I have seen over the years is that employers, when they are engaged in the process, really tend to have better outcomes. I remember a couple of years ago, I was doing a presentation at a conference, and it was employers and higher ed, and I was talking about the career readiness competencies and integrating them into experiential learning. And one of the employers who was sitting at a table kind of in the front, we're talking about this career readiness competencies and how employers can integrate and embed them into their internship initiatives. And she kind of raised her hand and she said, well, yeah, I see that these things are really important, but isn't this the school's responsibility to develop these skills in our students? And of course, you can imagine kind of the faces of those who, were in higher ed in the room. But at the same time, I think she was really asking an honest question, that she believed that these were the things that we were teaching and are teaching in the classroom to help prepare students to make the transition to the world of work. And, I just kind of looked at her and I said, if you hope that somebody else develops the talent that you need, want, and desire for your organization to be successful, I'm not quite sure hope is a really good strategy. And I think a light bulb went off for her to say, oh, well, yeah, that is important. And we do need to develop these skills if we feel that they are important as, we're bringing talent into our organization. But at the same time, we need to be consistent with our employer partners. We need to understand that this may be a place that they're coming from. And that takes some right sizing of expectations and some conversations to make sure that we're kind of all singing from the same sheet of music. Because we know that, again, some additional data that came out of that Inside Higher Ed study a couple years ago, the college and universities are doing a good job for transition life after college. However, there's room for improvement. And, there's the improvement comes in at in helping students make this transition, and employers can be a part of that process. And more than half of the employers surveyed stated that they have a difficult time finding qualified graduates for their positions. And, again, I kind of push back on employers and, I say, well, what are you doing to develop your own talent? And, that gets into a whole nother conversation in which we are going to have next Friday, when we're working with employers to help them to develop better internship and entry talent acquisition programs, which can help to develop the talent that they need by making the investment in our students that it's going to benefit not only the student, but them and their organization as well. So as we start to think about working with our community partners, working with employers in this process, really not every employer is a perfect match. Not every organization is a good fit for interns. Now, I think that every organization can be a good fit if they take the opportunity to invest in developing a program, which is why, I would love for them to come to the workshop next week. But we also have a responsibility to find, build, and manage these relationships of strategic value. And that can be challenging because, let's face it, this isn't our number one job most of the time. Now, the good news is that now we've got a place on campus, a center where, my hope is that we can point these relationships to, and that these relationships can be better managed for that strategic value. But, I think we really have, just in higher ed in general, I'm certainly not, specifically talking to AUM, but in general, we have in higher ed kind of a field of dreams mentality about working with employers. The line from that movie, if you build it, they will come. Well, that's worked in the movie, but I'm not quite sure that that really works in our ability to build relationships of strategic value with employers. And having been a career center director myself, having worked with career centers who really struggle with this, and universities that have some challenges, that has really been the big barrier that is stopping us as higher ed from really moving forward in this space. So we need to get rid of that they're not just going to show up because we have students. They're going to show up if they can understand and that they value the relationship that we have in helping students transition from where they are to where they're going. And quite frankly, I think we all know the definition of insanity. And that is, if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always got. So we have to do things differently. We have to change our mindset a little bit. And I think that, again, one of the real positives that I think AUM now has is this center, the Experiential Education and Engagement Center, because now we have a place where we can guide relationships to. I mean, how many times, and again, as a faculty member myself, I have had employers come to me and say, hey, I would love to do an internship, or, I've got this class project or a project that I think might be great for a class. Well, that's awesome. And that we might do that as a one-off, but does that develop a strategic relationship of value for the institution? No, it was good for my one class or that one student. But what we want to do when those opportunities come in is guide them to the EEC, because that's a place where we can build and foster and grow that relationship to benefit many more students, and hopefully over many generations of students. What we want to avoid is, I think, again, one of the other little bad habits that we have sometimes in higher ed administration is, fire, ready, aim. That we launch something and then we say, well, wait a minute, what were we aiming at, and were we even ready for that? And that is, I think, again, when we take that approach, we basically hit whatever we hit, we call that the target, and we say, hey, we hit something, so we must be successful. This is a situation where that is really detrimental, because so many employers have kind of some long memories, and you may run into an employer that says, well, I tried to do something with AUM 10 years ago and it didn't work. Okay, that's not, in our perspective, I don't think that's very valid. It was 10 years ago, whatever, but it's their reality and it's their perspective, so it's valid to them. So we need to be able to communicate why this is different and why now is not 10 years ago, but that's still part of that relationship building. So we don't want to continue to do what we've always done. We don't want to fire, ready, aim, because that's just not going to get us to where we are. So where do we start? Where do we start with this process? And we all know employers in the community in one way, shape, or form. And we need to be able to engage with them and talk about the work that AUM is doing that benefits not just our students, not just AUM, but how it benefits them and how it benefits our community and how it benefits the state. Because we, again, going back to some previous information from some of our webcasts, we know that students that do an internship or some type of experiential learning are more likely to move into a full-time role within that organization or within that community, which benefits our entire state, that we retain people because they have jobs, because they can provide a living for their family. So we've got to start reaching out, and the EEC can certainly help with that. If you have contacts, let us know. We will email them and engage them and start that conversation and talk about how we can start to formalize some of these experiences and make sure that their needs are being met. And we also need to ask ourselves, you know, as an institution, are we a barrier or are we a conduit to allowing these things to happen? And, you know, a lot of times we set up rules and regulations and we set up procedures and all kinds of things that hoops to jump through. That's what I was thinking about. We set up these hoops that an employer has to jump through. Okay, so for an intern, you have to jump through these 97 different hoops. Now, think about that from the employer perspective. I have other things that are on my plate. This is, you know, the internship or experiential learning or something, you know, like this for students is in that space on my job description that says other duties as assigned. So this isn't my number one priority. So if we are looking, and we are doing a really good job of this in the EEC, in saying and asking ourselves, how can we be not just a conduit, but an accelerator? And how can we help employers more effectively so that we're not creating these barriers and we are creating a path for them that is easy for them to have access to our students? Because when it comes to the employer perspective and what they think about us, you know, we're not higher education. And we can be, and to have a paradigm shift, you know, we're striving to become a value-added service provider that can help them and their organization to maximize their resources to provide that strong ROI. And what's interesting is that if we do this for them, what does that do for us? We're going to be able to recruit better. We're going to be able to retain better. Graduation rates are going to go up. GPAs are going to go up. The word's going to get out there that if you want to have a great collegiate experience and have experiential learning as part of that experience, you're going to come to AUM instead of somewhere else. And that's a big deal. And that's how we grow. And that's how this kind of all of these things that the benefits that we're talking about start to help the organization, our organization, AUM, really thrive, and we start to see these benefits. But it really does need to start with that paradigm shift of how we work with employers. And you know, what do they need? What do those employers need? And it doesn't matter whether they're a for-profit company, a government entity, a museum, a nonprofit. They want to connect with us, and we need to make it easy for them to do that. They want our help understanding the student culture and how they can connect with our students. They want to market their organization, and how do they, you know, not only, you know, build but develop a brand on campus. And these are the things that we talk about in that workshop that we're doing next week to help employers develop their brand and talk about, you know, help them to better connect with students through their internship and experiential learning programs. But, you know, what must they have? And a lot of it revolves around service and our ability to provide a level of service that helps them. What we don't want to do is get into that situation where 10 years from now, somebody is saying, well, I tried to do an internship 10 years ago and it didn't work. So why, what's different now? And so there's a lot of different variables that are kind of floating around all at the same time. And, they're all variables that we can, I'm not going to use the word control because I don't think we can control all of them, but I do believe that we can influence them in a really positive way. So for example, for faculty, one of the issues that we have is student commitment to an internship. So how, in your class, can you talk about the positive benefits of internships? Can you encourage them to do internships? And again, I know that you already are, but at the same time, can we do more of it? Can we integrate the career readiness competencies into our curriculum so that students are more prepared for that experience when it happens? In the EEC, we're going to work on that white glove personal service, and we've got some amazing technology that's going to help our students and our employers really connect with each other. And we care, and we want to help them to build these relationships of value. So we all can play a role in making sure that we don't drive low employer satisfaction engagement, that we understand what does that, and we can really do the opposite. So when we talk with employers, and again, this is over years and years and years of conversations with employers, the access, how the ease of access to get students, again, we're working on that in the EEC with the software that we're implementing. That we do have multiple systems. I know that Handshake being a job board for full-time jobs is one thing, but this is something different. And that can be a challenge, but I think that we're going to do what we can to overcome that. But the big one is a clear vision of the outcome of the relationship with AUM. What is it that messages that we can create that can help us have a common message to employers that creates a vision of the future and what experiential learning and internships and job shadowing and all of these things can do to help us engage our community partners. Many are going to say, well, we can't afford that, or we don't have resources to hire an intern. Okay, but what can we do? Are there other ways that we can engage them in this process? Touch points, again, we're going to continue to work on these about the branding and their presence on campus, engagement and connection, and we need everybody's help with that. And in this situation, it really does take the whole campus coming together and sharing those contacts and introducing the EEC, or introducing your contacts to the EEC so that we can help them increase their visibility and help them with that white glove service that is going to be evident. We also, as a campus, really need to know our labor market, and we need to know things, what employers do we have here, and not just in Montgomery being the state capital, but in the counties outside of that, what kinds of opportunities are there? I mean, just being in a state capital like I am here in Austin, Texas, I know that there's just tons of great opportunities for students, but are we effectively connecting them to that? And that's why we now have this fantastic new center that is going to be helping with that. Obviously, the large employers, they're going to have many more opportunities, and they're going to probably be better structured to handle internships and job shadowing and other forms of experiential learning. But back in 2019, before the pandemic hit, 75% of internships happen at companies less than 500 employers. So we got to keep an eye on the small businesses, because we also know that that is probably going to be an area of significant growth as we start to come out of this pandemic. And there's going to be entrepreneurial opportunities, because let's face it, there's been a lot of negative things that have happened. Businesses have closed, and there's going to be an entrepreneurial spirit, and experiential learning is a fantastic way to help those entrepreneurs get to where they want to be. So keep an eye on those small businesses that you hear about throughout the community. And again, engaging our entire campus in this process is really critical. That we all have an eye on how can we, even if you're just driving down the street and you see I don't know, anything, a museum, a government building, a company, and you say, wow, I want to make sure that we have students there. Who do I know there? Who do I know that knows somebody that works there or is in some type of leadership role, that we can make that connection? And we also need to think about what that message is. And our message is, I think, really kind of laser focused, is we want to help our students get the very best education that they can get at AUM. And you, employer, internship host, government office, nonprofit, you can help us to do that. You can help us retain our students, that's going to keep them here, that will help them to graduate, but you are also going to get the benefits of hosting an intern as well. So what are some significant areas that we can look at across campus? The development office, alumni relations, athletics, recruiting admissions, the president, provost, of course, faculty. Everybody knows somebody. And through this process and through this, the creation of experiential learning being a part of the campus experience at AUM, it's going to take everybody, and the level of commitment should certainly be there. And as we talk with employers, we also need to define what their needs are and help them to define what their needs are. It's great, when they come to us and they say, hey, I'd really like to have an internship, or host a student for some type of experiential learning, because then we can say, okay, great, we can walk them through a process of developing that and making sure that that the program that we're implementing works for them. Again, that's what we're going to be talking about a lot next week during the Total Internship Management Workshop that we're going to be doing virtually. But when we're talking with them kind of one-on-one and saying, hey, that's a question that we need to ask. What are your needs in your organization? And probably talent acquisition and getting work done are going to be a couple of the top things that somebody might mention. And then we can come back and say, hey, we've got this great new opportunity where we can bring students in to help get some of that extra work done, to help build your talent pipeline. And that is really, I think, a critical part of the direction that we're going. And when it comes to employer relations, there really are 7 key attributes of exceptional employer relations, and we all have, as I mentioned before, a role to play in this. For example, whoever you are the university to that employer that you're talking to. They think that we're, from the outside world, we're just all one big happy office and we all are together all the time. The reality is something very much different, and we know that, but they don't. So their experience with us is the experience with AUM. And we need to remember our own experiences and how we like to be treated when somebody comes to us and asks us questions and that somebody's trying to build a relationship with us. And how can we create customer satisfaction? And that's, yes, I mean, I know these are words that sometimes we don't like to use in higher ed, but that employer is a customer of ours. They are a strategic partner that can help us to achieve the things that we want to achieve. And how can we serve them to help serve our students is a conversation that we need to have a lot. As we talk with employers and as they are, coming to us and saying, hey, I'm really interested in doing an internship or some other form of experiential learning, let them think we have all the time in the world for them, that we are really focused on them and their needs. And when we do that, and again, through this process, I am sure that you are going to run into somebody that is not all that happy with AUM for something that may not even have happened in your lifetime. But cherish that and let them get that out. And if you can help to solve whatever that issue is that they have, or make a connection on campus to help them solve that issue, embrace it, because that person may be able to, once they get over whatever it is that they're been out of shape about that happened, a couple years ago, or to their child or to whatever, once they get over that, they see that you helped them to do that, they can really become a really strategic advocate for you as well, because they're going to go out and say, hey, this was solved, and they've got this great new program to help students get this type of experience while they're undergraduates. We need to also consistently find out how we're doing in the community. And this, again, I've worked with colleges and universities in the past on the town gown relationship. And that has been, there's been articles in the Chronicle of Higher Education about it, and Inside Higher Ed, where that can sometimes really be strained. I think that the last couple of articles that I've seen have been really positive in the Chronicle about town gown relationships, because of the community and the university coming together specifically around the issues around COVID. And hopefully that has built some new partnerships and some new relationships where maybe none existed in the past. But again, consistently asking how are we doing really helps them, the employer, to feel that we should care about their opinion and care about their input into helping us do things better. And finally, we got to do what we say we're going to do, and have that level of integrity that that they expect from their business partners. And now that we are a strategic business partner, that we can also live up to those expectations that they have. And finally, you know what? It just doesn't happen. And this kind of gets back to one of those first things that I said about the field of dreams kind of mentality that I think many of us have in higher ed. Hey, they're going to come to us because we've got the students. Well, not really anymore. I mean, we saw for many years employers do everything that they can to bypass universities to connect with students. And we're still seeing that. I mean, now an employer can post an internship on Indeed, and we're never even going to know what happens. So we can't foster that relationship, and we can't help the student through that experience if we don't know what's happening. So we've got to work on it, and it doesn't just happen, because that action really does change things. We can create, foster, develop these relationships. It's not going to happen overnight, but we've got to start somewhere. And I've never been to your campus, but I've been in communities like yours, and I know that those relationships are already there. How can we really maximize those to our students' benefit? So with that, I'm going to go ahead and open it up for any questions. I am also in the chat box. I'm going to put the link to next week's Total Internship Management Workshop. It is a virtual event. It is 100% free. And I would love for you to be there as well. Again, it's pretty rare that we have the opportunity to bring employers and higher ed faculty administrators into the same place at the same time to focus on the same thing. So, it is a workshop. It's not going to be, me pontificating on screen about how awesome internships are and telling employers what to do. There's going to be a bunch of breakouts and a bunch of conversations that you're going to be involved with, and you're going to be in a room with other employers, and you're going to get to hear from them, and we're going to talk with them, and we're going to be able to, again, hopefully foster some of those relationships. So I'm putting that link into there now. And also, I think Shelly in the EEC has sent out a workshop, the flyer that we created for that earlier today. So please share that. Register. We would love to have as many folks there as possible. We're going to start at 10 o'clock. We're going to wrap up this side of 3:30. I think it's going to be a good time. It's going to be fun. I enjoy doing them, and I think the information that we share with employers will also help your employers and that relationship in the future. So I don't see any questions that have come in. With this being our last in this series, I just want to thank you all for your time and your talent and your commitment to helping to make this thing that AUM is creating work. I know I've said it a lot. No one person or one team can do it by themselves. It's really going to take all of us, but we all benefit from that work as well. And again, these webcasts are recorded, and you will have access to them if you want to come back to them. But again, I don't see any questions coming in, so I'm going to give you back a little bit of time on your Friday afternoon, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Shelly said that she's going to send out the link to the recordings when they're posted. So everyone, take good care, have a fantastic weekend, and I look forward to seeing you next week. And of course, please connect with me. I would love to stay in touch and offer any type of help that I can, regardless of if you're an administrator or you're a faculty member, how I may be able to bring value to you through this relationship that I have with the Experiential Education and Engagement Center. So with that, take good care, have a fantastic weekend, and we'll talk again soon. Bye-bye, everybody.